Let me tell you about ProHealthConnect.com. It's transforming healthcare payments, providing retailers a seamless process for over-the-counter and healthy benefit programs. By connecting retailers, health plans, and payment processors, ProHealth Connect creates one powerful, unified network. They empower independent grocers and pharmacies to accept health benefit cards without changing how they do business. With over 10,000 locations nationwide, helping more than 1.3 million people access the care and nutrition they need. Go to ProHealthConnect.com.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
To the state of California, where the Associated Press has just called the race for Javier Becerra for California governor for him to advance to November. There will still be a second candidate to advance alongside him. And right now, Steve Hilton is still in the number 2 position, but Tom Steyer, the very progressive candidate, is also coming very, very close. And who knows what's going to happen once they count all the votes, all of the mail-in ballots. Again, Javier Becerra, the former HHS secretary under Joe Biden, who even some of the Biden staffers have come out and said that the guy did a terrible job. That's their words, not mine, their words. He's also the former California State Attorney General. And he has now, according to the Associated Press, officially advanced to the general election, which doesn't mean, of course, that he's won. It just means he gets a slot to go in the general election. And indeed, that they will now have it be Becerra, and will it be another Democrat like Tom Steyer, or will it be Steve Hilton? Of course, this is a big shift, guys, because when the results came in, it was first Steve Hilton on election night who had the lead. And then Javier Becerra was behind him quite a bit. And then you saw Tom Steyer. Then they started counting the other votes. And I'm talking about the mail-in votes and all these other votes. California is a mess. How could anybody have any faith in the election process in California when it takes them weeks upon weeks to figure out who's in and who's out? They have come under so much scrutiny because the way it works is if your ballot's mailed in and if it's stamped on election day, you still have, it's like 13 days for it to be counted. And then it gets certified at the end of the month. So they still won't certify it, but they do have a call by the Associated Press. And the Associated Press is usually very accurate, really a barometer for so many other people. And they have indeed made the call in the last hour or so for Javier Becerra to advance. He gets one of the slots to advance to the general election in November. So the big question is Steve Hilton going to be the other one, or is California doomed by having Javier Becerra and Tom Steyer, who's a very wealthy billionaire, but he's the guy who also said that migrants that were deported, even criminal ones, should come back. Does that sound like a common sense thing to you? I don't think so. They're out of the country. Good riddance. And he's saying, no, I'd like them to come back. This is a guy with a lot of money and a lot of damage. And then you got Javier Becerra, who, again, got an abysmal work record while he was at the Health and Human Services Department as the secretary. And then he also has said that essentially non-citizens should maybe vote. And he also said that non-citizens also should essentially be able to get health care in the state of California. I didn't hear him say too much about others, but he said illegals should. So that just shows his priorities. So let's just pray for California, guys. Let's pray for Steve Hilton and hope that this will become a race for the ages as opposed to Javier Becerra and Tom Steyer and then the governor's office in terms of any sort of correction, any sort of changes, is doomed if it's one of the two of them. But Steve Hilton, as I mentioned, still sitting ahead, but they still have a lot of votes to go. Here's the latest numbers. It says Javier Becerra has 26.7% of the vote. Steve Hilton has 26.4%, and Tom Steyer has 21% of the vote. So, yeah, he is definitely behind Steve Hilton, but there's a lot of votes coming in, and he is definitely getting closer to Steve Hilton because a lot of those mail-in votes, they believe, are Democrats and often very progressive. So that's why who knows where this is going to go. 68% of the votes in, but that still means that there's 32% that are not in, and that's a lot of votes. Also, Javier Becerra coming out tonight with this news. Needless to say, he's elated. And he said, November, here we come. He also says that he becomes the first Latino candidate from a California gubernatorial primary to make it to the general election. So he's saying this is historic. Also putting out statements in Spanish, too, as well as he is along this mission. One of the things that he put out was a statement saying, essentially, I'll read it to you. It says, more than ever, California needs our voices and our values. To the people and the voters of California, this is your state. Este es tu estado. This is your state. So he's saying it in Spanish and in English and trying to obviously appeal to the Hispanic vote, which is very important and very big in the state of California.